So we just walked about a block and a half down to the corner of 12th Street and A Avenue. We're going to look at this art project. Hello, crow. There's always crows around when we're making art for some reason. But how it started was the city, and there's City Hall right over there. The city was granted some funds from the State Water Authority to install these special water capturing systems. And what happens is, we're on a hill here, and the water that comes down A Avenue here, that comes down 12th Street to A Avenue goes into these rocks instead of the storm drain. And then it goes under the ground, and then it goes through some pipes over to a 50,000 gallon cistern, which collects all that water to be used later as irrigation for the park. So as part of the grant, there was to be some educational, an educational aspect of the project. So I got together, the city got together with arts. I got together as the lead artist and started designing this, working with various other agencies like Ocean Connectors, who gave us all the info and the science and the lowdown on the different habitats along the watershed. So the first part were these rocks here that I put mainly to keep skateboarders from skating on this part of the wall. But they look like pretty cool prehistoric skeletons coming out of the rocks. So I like that a lot. Here's the intersection again, City Hall. And I kind of designed it as a cross section of earth, sedimentary rock or strata for a look. But we represent all the different habitats along the way. Where the water starts is up in the mountains, and that habitat is called the headwaters. So when we have storms and eyes of storms, our friend Rory Canfield was the artist that put together this section of the wall. He was very meticulous, and it's one of the most beautiful things ever. But say that's the eye of the storm when it comes crashing here into the mountains. And we try to depict a lot of the flora and fauna that live in the different habitats. So you'll see here everything from this little raccoon hiding down there in the rocks. We have a mule deer. We've got a bunch of artistic elements here. Some glass. Oh, back to the science. We have the animals that live in the mountains here in San Diego County. We have your red-tailed hawk. I remember a student came in one day, a teenager, and he made this beautiful mountain lion. So there's birds and there's trees. A lot of all the custom tiles were made at the Art Center with students and volunteers, such as these little blue ones. And then all the other glass tiles and blue tiles we've got on here represent the watershed and the way the water travels down from the headwaters into eventually the ocean. So here's the good old California grizzly, an American bald eagle going after this beautiful rainbow trout. About 300 people overall worked on this project, so many aspects, but one thing you'll see along the way is how the wall really changes. You know, there's a standard design that goes all the way throughout with the water, the river flowing through. But if you look at each little section of river, you'll see that the styles change a lot. Like somebody came along one day and put this yellow part here, We had families, grandmas, little kids, everybody came. So now the habitat we're in is called the uplands, and that's where most of us live, either here by the ocean or in the desert, the foothills. Everything down from the headwaters in the mountains is called the uplands. So here's some burrowing owls, a lot of fish along the way, and different bird species that we see in the uplands. We have pheasants in the uplands, roadrunners in the desert, different sorts of trout and birds, smelly guys. We transition through the wall, through the different habitats, through these sort of altars. All these rocks you see here, and the interesting ones, they're different from the main rocks along the way, have been collected from Borderfield State Park. That's the Tijuana River estuary, and when it leads into San Diego Bay, it stops in the park. So all these crazy looking rocks, the heart-shaped rocks, the red rocks, the striped rocks, those are all taken from the park. We did a project with them in the past, and they gave us permission to go down there and collect. So that was a fun field trip. We're moving into what we call, it's still part of the uplands, but we call it our urban industrial zone. And this part of the wall is dedicated to National City and National City's history. So we had our archivist, she's actually an archaeologist, her name is Susan Walter, and she's been working in archaeology for years. But she went out to local businesses and organizations and asked for donations to put things here in the wall. The first thing we see along the way here is from the US Navy, and that's a section, or a link, I guess you'd call it, of chain that would hold an anchor or tie the boat off to the dock, I guess. When National City was young, there were actually 5 railroads that all converged here. We still have the oldest train depot in San Diego County, and it serves now as a museum, but they were a great place for donations. We've got here, if you can see it, that's an old pulley that worked on a boxcar door. And these are the plates that hold the ties down, the track to the ties. We've got a nice section of track here that they donated to us. A beautiful spike. Moving along, we've got an ice cream scoop from Nita Frank's Ice Cream that has been here in National City forever. We've got things here from shipyards, tools. We've got Aunt Emma's Pancake House represented here with silverware. The Historical Society had a bunch of good stuff, like this great tile, also this tile, this character and his fish right here. The stairwell, even though it's a little dirty right now, is one of my favorite parts. I got to work on this with kids from the Monarch School, and the Monarch School is in downtown San Diego, and it's been a long-time partner with arts. They serve homeless and transitional youth, so we started working with them back in 2001, just bringing art to the homeless shelters. But we've done a lot of great things and have a lot of great artists come out of there over the years. See here, we've got some more cool tiles. I know this tile came from Turkey, from Julia Darigo. That came from Israel. We lost a finger somewhere. This mermaid was made by an employee here in National City, Angelita. Her mom had passed away the previous year, and they gave these little coins out at the memorial with a picture of a little angel on it. So Angelita and I, to celebrate her mom, made this mermaid holding that coin. A great fixture of National City that's been around forever is Napoleon Pizza. And here we have some of their pizza trays embedded in the wall. There's a great story. The singer, songwriter, musician, superstar Tom Waits spent part of his early years in National City, and he worked at Napoleon Pizza as a dishwasher. And he's got a lot of great stories and references some of that time in some of his songs. Got more nautical themed stuff here, more glass. The letters from the old art center in Liberty Station. We've got this nice plaque here, was made by Sweetwater High School students that are part of their welding class or the welding program, and we've partnered with them on a lot of things, not just here on the wall, but bike racks you'll see all over the city and furniture that we've made. I like this from the appliance store. It's a burner. So that's our little part of burner art. For those of you who know about Burning Man, that's kind of a joke there. YYK Shipyard down here on the waterfront. Quick story about this crow. There were always crows up in these trees here when we were working on this project. And one day I came out and there was, unfortunately, a baby crow had passed away and was laying at the base of the tree up there. So I scooped him up. I came down and dug a hole here behind the wall and dropped him in it. Covered it up, and then we already had a nice crow ceramic, and I placed it right here on the front of the wall. Then I put out a dish of water and a little tombstone on the backside, and the crows actually came down and drank the water and hung out for a bit before they flew off, and I thought that was a great moment. And I learned something new about crows. They actually do mourn their dead. More from the Navy. Anybody guess what this silver metal object is? There's a sewing supply store down the street here who donated this carcass of a sewing machine. Pretty neat. The American Legion has their Legion Hall just over there on the other side of that library building you see down the way. And they came and donated this whiskey decanter. And it smelled pretty good inside before it got sealed up to the wall. One of the members of the Historical Society came along and donated this ceramic pitcher. And she told us that her son had made this pitcher about 45 years earlier here in the Boys and Girls Club in Kimball Park. So that was pretty generous, and I just love how it looks there. So we're moving into the salt marshes now, which is the next habitat as you go past the urban industrial. And the salt marshes, we have our Paradise Creek here, which is in Kimball Park, which flows out into the salt marsh. So the water we collect here that stays out of Paradise Creek helps protect the habitat down there in the salt marshes. Got lots of beautiful fish. Different birds. Coyote. We moved from the salt marsh into San Diego Bay. And you'll see a lot of different animals that live in our bays. These little guys are pretty cute. When the bay starts to transition towards the ocean, we'll get a lot of crossover of animals. I think that's a leopard shark. It's a pretty amazing piece of work there. Got your harbor seals, green sea turtle, a couple of Garibaldis, I think. There is a front-facing green sea turtle coming at us out of the wall. That was made by our friend Carla. Got to mention Brennan Hubble. Brennan Hubble is a great San Diego artist and mosaicist, and he was the #1 right-hand man on this project. I really couldn't have done any of this without him, and he just had the expertise and knowledge on how to build stuff. He comes from a family of architects and artists, and they just do great work. His dad, James Hubble, lives up in Julian here, and his house and property, they open up every Father's Day for tours, and just like thousands of people show up. It's amazing. But Brennan, I think that's the front of a fish that he made, and the back coming out over here. There's this local guy, Bobby. He dropped this artifact off one day. I met him. He would stop at our outdoor piano up at the Art Center and play beautiful music. And he's just a neighborhood fixture. And he was very generous, giving us that statue. Well, we're into the ocean now. This is where the mural kind of plunges under the sea. I'll take a step back. So you could see more ocean type animals here. You've got your starfish, Garibaldis, some kind of tail of a creature there. This little guy always scares me. I don't like eels, but I guess everything has its purpose in the ecosystem. Another green sea turtle, some sort of flounder. These cute little guys here. Yeah. So as we plunge deeper into the ocean, you'll see the California gray whale. There's another leopard shark. It's one of these big sea lions that you'll see all around Southern California. Remember this part, there was a camp happening up, a summer camp at the Art Center, and a few times I was able to bring some of the students down from that. So if you look at this section, we plopped all those kids down right here, and you'll see how it's kind of a patchwork quilt effect, because each kid had their own little style, but you know, it all came together beautifully. Forgot to mention our glass artists. So, our friends Nick and John, two San Diego glass artists, came by one day with lots of stuff for me. They cleaned out their studios, and we were the lucky recipients of their generosity. More beautiful dolphins playing, another California gray whale. These things here represent waves. I think they kind of look like dinosaurs too. Kinds of interesting stuff. We made these cool little shells by pressing real shells into the clay. That was a great technique. It's like a scary shark, cool little seahorse, starfish, sea stars, More beautiful glass. We got glass shells, and glass nautiluses, more seahorses. Mr. Octopus. And then the wall just sort of fades off into the deep blue sea. I'm gonna let you take a look at some of this glass though before we end this, because these things look so good buried in the cement. Well, there it is. Thanks for coming along. That is just one piece of artwork. 20-minute walk. 300 feet long. 1,200 square feet. Over 300 artists, children, volunteers played a part. And it still works to educate people every day. I see a lot of kids and groups of kids with parents down here. Teachers bring their kids here. We've had Mosaic tour buses from Mosaic conferences come through and have a look. And I'm very proud, and we at Arts are very proud. And the City of National City, City Hall again, are very, very proud of this piece. So, thanks for coming along for the ride, and I'm gonna go start on a new project. Y'all take care.